right. So, hello, Facebook. I am so excited to be talking to a special guest today. So, I am Jenn Grace, founder and CEO of Publish Your Purpose Press, and I am talking to one of I can't pick favorites, but you're certainly one of our favorites that we've worked with. And we're having a conversation today around where are you now? Because it's been about a year since you launched your book. So before we get into like the where are you now, how about who are you? Because I haven't even said your name yet.
Okay. Hi, I'm Iman Gatti, and I have written a book with Publish Your Purpose Press and Jenn and her amazing team 1 year ago, almost today. And it is called Cracked Open, Never Broken. So I'm an author, life coach, grief recovery specialist, and all around just, big-haired fun gal.
A badass chick, in my opinion. I know. I should have grabbed your book as a visual. It's like just out of reach on the other side of my screen.
Sorry. I just have a case of them just sitting here. So,
just casually hanging out.
Yeah. Just like keep it with me like a security blanket,
As you should. I feel like I actually just got back from speaking somewhere, and I just schlepped in a whole box of my books. So, and
nice.
That's what you got to do. You got to take them everywhere you go.
Yay.
So let's just start. So for anyone who has watched our Facebook or our YouTube channel in the past, they might recognize you because you've made appearances in the past. But we are now 1 year out from your launch. Your book launched almost exactly a year ago. So I want to know, it's just kind of like yes, so where are you now? But like one thing before we hit record was kind of like, how did you handle like the afterbirth? Like, okay, so, like your baby is incubating for however long it took to write and publish. And then like, boom, the baby's in the world. Then what? Like, what was the kind of emotional experience you had once it was like out?
Well, the funny thing about that parallel was that I was actually pregnant when it was coming out. So I was almost 8 months pregnant when my book was published. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of a really amazing thing for me to be giving birth to my book and then waiting to give birth to my daughter. And so luckily I had, mama hormones, so I couldn't give as many cares as I normally would for the pressure and things like that of being like scared and anxiety. I was carrying in a way that I was like so proud and just really excited. But I think if I wasn't pregnant, I would have probably been more afraid. But I was already focused on doing another really big thing quite soon. So I thought, you know what? No, this is awesome. I'm really excited about this. And I'm not going to let like my normal crippling anxiety kind of creep in and take away the joy from this moment. Mm-hmm. So after we kind of hit publish and everything was live and we told everyone and it was like people can buy it and read it now, I think I actually felt like $1 million. I felt like this release of pressure. There was always the what if and what if people think this and what are they gonna write, and it felt like, you know what, I did my part, now you guys read it and own your own responses. Like, I'm not owning your reactions.
Yes, I feel like that's probably one of the best pieces of advice I feel like you gave me, not even intending it, and people on our team, of like, who's owning, like you don't have to own someone else's reaction to whatever it is that you were doing. And it's like, that is such a brilliant piece of information, because I think we all tend to want to own someone else's reaction.
Especially to your story.
Yeah.
Right? You feel the sense of ownership. It's my story. It's about me. It's very personal. So if you're sad, then that's my fault. And I should probably fix that sadness for you, or, and we kind of do that as humans anyway. We want to, no, don't cry. Don't feel sad. Don't feel uncomfortable. Let me fun this away and giggle this away. And right. And it's really your own discomfort you're battling at that moment. So I had to really be conscious to not, especially because it's a memoir, it's super dramatic. There's a lot of emotion. It's very heavy in parts. And so it's real. These are real stories for real people that are reading it. Yeah. They're in the book and they're reading it. So that's even more, I felt, overwhelming pressure to not offend, or, you always want people to like it. You want people to like your work.
And you want people to be able to read it and see through the story and like get your bigger message and what you're really trying to get across, not get mired down in the minutia of the emotions at the time, or because you wrote it because you wanted to help people ultimately. Correct. And be the catharsis of getting it out of your own head and body.
Yeah, I wanted to not own it anymore, to be honest. The stories that roll through your mind like a projector over and over and over again. And I think, um, like you said, I mean, I was 36 when I published it, and it was finally like this moment where right before I have a baby and have my own family, that I wanted to sort of release this. You know, it was a burden and a blessing, but really just so much emotion that I've been carrying around for my whole life. And I thought, 30 years of this drama, and I just wanted to give it to the world and say, like, this is my story and this is my vulnerability, and here is me showing up in the most transparent way that I can possibly show up. Literally the nightmare of standing on stage naked, in front of a group of people, and I love me anyway.
I almost think that standing on a stage naked would be less exposing and vulnerable than your book.
Yeah, because you can leave the stage, but now I can't leave the stories, right? You're going to read, they live. Yeah. And you know what? The response was amazing. And I really had to detach from any compliment or critique. Like I took it and let it wash over me. Like it was like, okay, great, thank you. That's your opinion, right? That's your opinion. That's all it is. And I mean, I think it was a really big lesson, to be honest, as a human being, to not take everything so personally, even the compliments, right? Don't let it get to your head, and don't let it get to your heart, right? The insults. Don't let the insults go into your heart, and don't let the compliments get too far into your head. You're human, you make mistakes, you're not perfect. The book is not perfect. It's just, it is. It exists.
It is, yes. What do you think I feel like it's a two-part question. It's almost like, what was the most unexpected response, both from a positive side or a negative side? You don't have to actually say the response itself, but like, how did you kind of handle that? Because writing a memoir really is very, very exposing. Writing a book in general is really exposing. You're like,
well, the most surprising thing to me was like within less than 24 hours, it became a 3-time best-selling book on Amazon. So obviously I woke up and crapped my pants and excitement and super proud moment, right? Really overwhelmed. And I think I kept telling myself, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. It doesn't matter. Just kind of having that shield on, my armor. And then when you emailed me in this excited, crazy accomplishment, I was like, it matters. This is the best book I've ever read. So I kind of had my giddy little kid moment of like, this is so cool, look what I did. And I felt that, and I enjoyed it, and I earned it, because it was a heck of a lot of tears and grief to get to that. And I don't know if I had that like a terrible moment or anything. Like, I think probably the any negative feelings I had were just from people who were in the book, and honoring their process of grieving, because it's a sad book sometimes, right? So I had the privilege of going through 2.5 years of working on it and working through it, and then I give it to someone and I'm like, is it good? Is it good? Do you like it? And I had to really be respectful of their process and let it sink into their bones. Let them go through it. Let them feel sad and have the emotions that I got to have for 2.5 years, and I'm asking them to do it in a week.
Yeah.
Right. So I had to learn that for myself. I was disappointed sometimes where I wasn't getting like the best reaction of like, wow, I'm proud of you for doing this task, for doing this art, for creating this piece, was what I was looking for from my family. But I didn't get that. I got to witness their process of feeling, which was an honor in itself, but it was the wrong audience to look for the applause on, look what my sister did, look what my cousin did, look what my, daughter did, or whatever. And I thought, okay, wrong audience, right? I'm looking for the wrong thing from you guys, I think.
But you were able to see that, and you were able to see that early on, so it didn't cause any type of stress, anxiety, or tension within those relationships.
Not at all. No. For me, it was a growing experience of allowing other people their feelings, the same as allowing them their reaction, right? Just, it's, a lot of people didn't understand. They're like, how on earth, like they felt embarrassed for me. Like, how could you ever share such vulnerable stories? How could you ever expose yourself this way? Aren't you ashamed? I got that question a couple times, and not in a way that was insulting. No one was telling me I should feel shame. but I think they're speaking of themselves like, oh my God, I would be so embarrassed to tell people my dark secrets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Brene Brown talks about shame all the time, and she talks about how shame needs secrecy to thrive, right? It needs darkness, and that, and when you give it air, it dies.
Yeah, and I feel like that's exactly what your book did. It gave all of it air, and there, like, the whole, it's just, yeah, there's no more darkness. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so have you, or like post-launch, so of course, like, I feel like you will probably remain, or at least you can continue to claim the spot of being the only author pregnant and about to give birth as the book is launching. Like, just the timing of that, like the whole timing of it, just completely insane.
Yeah.
But like, thinking, because I know that, like, you literally launched the book and then you had your daughter, like, it seemed like moments later. So if we're looking at that, what have you done with the book, given the constraints of the fact that you do have a infant? Like,
Yeah, because she was born like 6 weeks after.
so it's crazy close timing.
Yeah, so I had all these visions because I'm a super type A. So I had all these visions of like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and I have all these plans. And I thought, no, I have this other thing that is beautiful that I'm doing, which is becoming a mom. And I'm really proud of my book. And I probably, if I wasn't going to become a mom, I would have done a million other things with it. And but it did so well, and it's done so well without all the pressure of having to.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really cool because it gained so much momentum. I had a GoFundMe, so everyone helped me to publish this book, and it was a really community-driven experience. And so my community kept carrying it throughout this past year. And I have, oh my gosh, I've just been so shocked at how many people have emailed me and written me and said, I read this book and I got this thing, and I've gotten so many speaking engagements and hired at these crazy conferences and crazy events that I've literally in the past year have not had any public events because I've been constantly booked with private events, and I cannot find a moment to have a public talk for my audience to come. And I keep getting asked that, so I promise I'm going to have that. But I think it's just
a good problem to have.
Yeah, really good. I mean, I was speaking 6 weeks after my daughter was born, and like, you're just like feeding her and then running to the stage with the mic and then feeding her again after. Like, it was just amazing. So through traveling my province of Alberta here, and all of the incredible opportunities I've been given in the past year, it's just been actually insane. I don't even know. I ask people all the time, like, who referred you? How did you hear? And they're like, oh, someone read your book. Someone read your book. I filled with private clients, one-on-one coaching because of the same thing. People, I read your book. Someone gave me your book. I got it for Christmas. I got it for my birthday. I'm like, oh wow, okay, so
yeah. So it's crazy. And I've talked to people who've read your book too, and I'm like, yes. And it's like, not people who are connected to you or they're not connected to me, but somehow they've come across, and I'm like, this is amazing, because it means that your book is reaching people outside of just your network or, the PYP network. Like, it's definitely having some kind of ripple effect going on in terms of people reading it. And I think there's a whole kind of element of like inspiration to your entire story, because it's kind of like, holy shit, if she can go through this and become this, then like, there's no excuse for anybody not to be able to kind of push through, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think it shows an example of obviously a possibility, my possibility, right? And I think we all have that capability to look inside and say, what are my options? What's my possibility? What is my opportunity? And how can I overcome, conquer, heal, move forward? What does it mean when something traumatic happens to you? What does it mean? A lot of times people who suffer from extreme trauma and live with, complex PTSD and depression and anxiety like I do, we get stuck. We think, oh, like a bomb has exploded, whatever that bomb was, and you feel like stuck. And it's really hard to move forward. And I think, I've literally spent my entire life moving forward and falling back and getting up and trying again and doing different things. And that's why it's so important to me to share it with other people, because I just feel so happy to be here. Right? I just feel so happy to be healed and healthy and recovered from my grief and trauma and my experiences, and have this really incredible, magical life that is so possible, that I just every day wake up and I look at my husband and my baby and my dog and my house and I think, wow, I wouldn't have guessed this. This is not what I imagined when I was 10 and 12 and 18 and 25. I just always hoped so much for it. And so if I can give someone else that little piece of hope, or even just shine as an example, I don't know what it looks like for everyone else, but I can certainly say that this is certainly not within the realm of reality that it felt like for me when I was a kid.
Yeah. And, you know, I was talking to a woman earlier this week, actually, who's writing about a really difficult topic, specifically around kind of like incest. And she was saying how she's so stumped at how to kind of tie her book together at the end. Like, what do you do? And I completely referenced your book, not because there's an incest component, but because of the way that you wrapped it up. Because I think that unanimously as a team and collectively with you, we were like, we have to show the reader that you were okay. Like, it is imperative that after reading all of this, that they know that you have this incredible, amazing life on the other side of all of that trauma.
Right. Yeah, I remember that being a really important one we were discussing and working with your team, because I think there was one time when I was like, yeah, we should just, and then leave them hanging. And everyone's like, no, we want to know that you're okay. And I'm thinking, well, you're going to see me now. You know, I'm okay. And everyone's like, all of, you know, everyone who's helping me read it, the drafts are like, you cannot do that to us. Okay. Heard. And so we came up with a really, I thought, really lovely way of letting everyone know. And I've had such incredible feedback about that too, where people are like, okay, thank God you wrote, you know, the end like that, because I just was like hanging on the edge of my seat, and I would be so mad at you if you left me like that. I was like,
yeah, we don't need hate messages to us, to you, to anybody, or people trying to like find you and track you down, even though we know you're okay. But you know, like you think about like the average reader who's just reading, you know, I'm reading someone's memoir right now who passed forever ago at this point. It's a really old memoir, and it's like, wow, like it would be great to actually know what this, like what happened to this person post writing this book and pre-passing. So it's, and I have all these unanswered questions and I have no access to them. So at least we did the reader a favor by making it a little bit more digestible, I guess. And to be like, holy shit, like she's got it together and like really doing amazing stuff.
Thank you. And you know, that doesn't mean life still doesn't fall apart, and there's still not drama, and there's still not things that hurt, and I still cry a lot, and I'm just like this really emotional person that has all the things. And I think that's the thing that I really want to always connect with other people, is that it's not about perfection. It's not about like, you know, the cliche, like she was broken and now she's found herself and she's amazing all the time and everything's really super Instagram polished. No, everything still is sometimes crappy, and there's bad days, and people still betray you, and people still, you know, do things that hurt your feelings and are out of character for what you hope for them, and you still fail yourself, and you still say things that are crazy, and you know, the point is that I have learned to forgive myself. I've learned to forgive other people in a process that works for me and with time, and I've learned to show up for my feelings, and I've learned to accept where I'm at. So if I feel those things, then I feel those things. I allow myself that. Whereas in my 20s, I was trying to drink them away and party them away and travel them away and ignore them and ignore that part of me that was dying to be heard. And once I've, you know, did all the therapy and did all the counseling and writing, then I think it came to a point where that's me accepting myself. This is me saying, these things happen to me and they're not a reflection of my character. They don't mean that I'm not worthy. You know, it's just proof that I am worthy, that I'm still whole, that I'm beautiful, that I am an amazing human being worthy of love, success, happiness, and joy. And I deserve to feel safe and whole and good, even though.
Yes. I feel like everybody should have access to that ability to heal in the way in which you're describing it. Because I feel like for a lot of reasons, people legitimately don't have access to it from a financial means, but then there's also just kind of that emotional means of not being able to access that either.
Yeah, because it's scary, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's the big stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a great point, like not having access to it with regards to financial problems. You know, if you live in poverty, if you live in an area, if you're still in trauma, it's very difficult to overcome that, right? So I don't want anyone to have this image of like, I'm not saying it's easy ever. Ever. I've never said once. And I think that's a deterrent sometimes to people, because a lot of coaches want to show you shiny things that you can do it too, and these 3 steps, and all you have to do is give me all of your money or whatever, right? And it's like, I never say that. I'm like, you ready to work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ready to work? Honey, it's going to be hard, but I'll be there for you. I'll show up with you. As much as you show up, I'll show up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's for you. You get the prize.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you get the pain.
Yeah.
If you don't do anything about it,
Get
you
all
get
of
the
it.
prize. Yeah, you get it all. It's all for you, right? This life is for you. Your life is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let other people be responsible or have some kind of power that you think that they have that's magical for you. They do not have that.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know about your life more than you. You are the expert.
Mm-hmm.
So here I'm showing you how I became the master of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to understand that you too can become the master of your life in your own way. It's not going to look like my way. Mm-hmm. And yes, I had access to my health, right? I was able to work 3 jobs to pay for therapy. I was able to travel because I had a job that I went to school and had the privilege of going to school. So I have a lot of privilege that led me to a lot of opportunity that a lot of other people will not have access to. Mm-hmm. So I understand that, right?
Yeah.
Just like I had a lot of misfortune that I had to overcome. Mm-hmm. So we got to deal with what we've been given.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like privilege is a spectrum because there's many ways in which I have privilege that you don't, or vice versa, or we have privilege that others don't. Like, it's just this big spectrum.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was born into an immigrant family. I'm a 1st-generation Canadian. I'm not white and I don't look white, but I look a hell of a lot whiter than some people, right? So I have that privilege that I can pass as acceptable in some situations where it seems not to be acceptable to be darker skinned, right? Mm. I have the privilege of the community that I grew up in. I live in a very prosperous area. I live in a very rich country. My family comes from a 3rd world country and they moved to a 1st world country. There's a lot of privilege that they afforded me by getting here.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's important for people, for anyone to really tell their story. It's because for someone, you don't know who's going to be watching or reading your story or watching you talk, whether it's here or on your page or wherever you happen to be, and being inspired completely and utterly by like what seems to be insurmountable in so many ways. So I feel like for you, for a lot of people, I think the writing of the book is the hardest part, but I feel like my assumption would be the writing part was probably the easier part because of all the healing that had to take place to be comfortable enough to even put paper or idea to paper.
Yes, I love writing. So to me, writing is easy, okay? For me. I love writing. I write every day. I've been writing since I could pick up a pen. Mm-hmm. And writing, oh God, I felt like I could have written this book in a few months, right? Mm-hmm. The reason it took me 2.5 years was because of the pain, excruciating, heart-wrenching, gut, like just all-consuming, made me want to die repeatedly, trauma, reliving, oh my godness of how I literally had to revisit every single trauma I have ever experienced. And it was brutal. And I'm not going to even feign any kind of ease in that. It was terrifying. It was exhausting. But man, does it feel good when you're done. It felt like, I just felt like I just, for me, won an emotional lottery because I was like, I did it. It was like my triathlon of life. Just like, I did it.
For real.
Yeah.
Die in peace now. So let's go back to your type A ways for a minute. So I know that you've published something else in the meantime. So I would love to hear, because why not? Why not, ride the coattails of publishing one thing, try and have a baby, and let me publish a children's book while I'm at it. Do you want to share a little bit about that and what was the spark of like I have to do this?
For publishing the 2nd book?
Yeah. Oh, please.
So, so I wrote and illustrated this book, and I think it's hilarious because I couldn't draw a stick figure before I started. So I'm really, really proud of all of the amazing cartoony pictures inside. So I was terrified as a type A person to have a baby, okay? Everyone and their dog tells you that when you have a baby, you have nothing. You have no more time for yourself. Life is going to be end. It's going to be horrible in a way of time, right? They say, oh, the baby's beautiful. You're going to love your baby. But you're going to die. Your identity is going to die. It was so frightening to me. I thought, oh my God, well, that would suck because I've worked really hard to get to a place where I actually love and own my own career. And now you're telling me it's going to die. I have to trade it for my human baby. So of course, Iman, stubbornness, never say die attitude. I was like, screw that shit. I'm not letting people take my dreams. I'm not going to just lay down because you think something for me. I've never done that in my life. I'm not starting now. So of course, when she came, I was all consumed. I mean, I still am. I totally let everything sit still for a minute. I didn't work very much for 6 weeks, people. Okay. So like, I'm not on maternity leave. Let's be real. I'm not on maternity leave, even though Canada has a year or you can take 12 or 18 months paid maternity leave, but I don't because I work for myself. So yay. So I took 6 weeks of just hanging out, healing, chilling with my boo, being just with her. And then I was like, okay, I still want to be me. I want to show her what it looks like to live and love your life. I don't ever want her to think that I gave up my life because she's part of our lives. She is a huge component, but I still get to be a human. I still get to be a mom, and I still get to be a businesswoman and a writer and all the damn things I want, right? And how better to show her than to literally show her. So I'm a goofball, if we haven't got that already, Jen, but I make up words, sing songs, and I'm a little bit zany all day long. So I made up this song that I sing to her every morning. Just came to me in a whimsy of sleep deprivation and hunger, and probably just hallucinating. And so I was singing her this song every morning, and I just thought it'd be cute to have obviously my mother passed when I was 6, so to me to be a mom is there's an extra specialness for me that I want her to remember me and I want her to have these memories. So I started singing her this goofball song every day. And I mean, she doesn't know anything from anything at the moment. And so she's not really responding. But then one day I sang the song and she looked and she just burst into smile and giggles and started like cooing and singing along with me. And I thought, heart melt explosion, like, whoa, she heard me. She heard me. And I think anyone can attest when your kid responds to you, just like, this feels really cool. Like, okay, because you haven't noticed me that I've been wiping your buns and feeding you for the last however. And so I thought, you know what, man, I got to get this on a book. And we read all kinds of books every day, obviously, and they're silly and whimsical and fun. And I thought having a kid makes you feel like anything's possible because they're so funny. They're just goofballs. They love to sing and dance, and no one has yet told them that they suck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? Yeah. So I thought she gave me this inspiration of like, maybe I don't suck at writing and drawing and being a goofball, right? And so I started looking at her books, and I'm like, okay, they're pretty basic, right? There's like a couple shapes and 2 words on a page. And I thought, if I can write freaking book this thick,
for real,
I might be able to write a 24-page whimsical story. So anyway, I took this and then I thought, well, now I have to hire someone to draw the pictures because I can't draw. And it's one of those limiting beliefs that you have since you're a little kid, that someone's like, you suck at drawing. And so I actually had to I was like panicked. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to draw. I have to pay someone thousands of dollars to draw for me. And then I was like, screw this. My husband goes, honey, I have Adobe Illustrator. Why don't you try and figure it out? And I was like, all right. So I literally spent probably 60 hours learning how to draw, learning a new program I never even opened in my life. And I wanted to write a book in a weekend. That's the A-type personality. It took 3 weeks. And I was like,
A-type personality. 3 friggin' weeks.
And I was only going to make it like 5 pages. But then when I went to publish it, they're like, we have a minimum of 24 pages, right? I was like, oh crap, now I got to draw more pictures. So there was a lot of like, keep going deeper, keep going deeper, keep going deeper, which is any project, as you know. I think it's going to be like super easy. And then it's like,
it's never. No, especially publishing.
Yeah, like I thought I was on step 99 out of 100. And I was like, you're on step 2, babe. You literally have to keep going over and over, you know? So
yeah, I just think it's hilarious that I just at random reached out to see like what was going on with you, and you're like, oh, I published a children's book, And I'm like, of course you did. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Not a shock in the least.
I know. I didn't know, what book I was going to write next or how it was going to work or when I would have the time. And I think I think a lot of people can relate to time, right?
Mm.
Feeling crunched and anyway, so I was like, you know what? I can do hard things. I can do big things. I can do crazy things. Yeah. So